Welcome to the Political Pour Up Podcast.
Grab a drink, pull up a chair. It's the Political Pour Up.
Because we're going to need a drink for this.
Hello, and welcome to the Political Pour Up Podcast. I'm Sue.
I'm Jazz.
And I'm Jenn.
And we're back! We are back!
We are back.
We are back. And it is like, what, 2035? Has it been like...
I know.
100 days.
It feels like the last time we all sat around this table with this goal in mind was like a million years ago.
It does.
In like it's only been
6 months ish.
Oh God,
7.
6 months.
7. Yeah, tomorrow. What was it? November 5th.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of time that's passed, what have you ladies been up to? Care to enlighten the listeners?
I mean, not much. What about you, Jenn?
Not much.
Oh, come on. Don't be bashful.
I mean, I am now married. I'm a married
Let's get
woman.
married.
So, yes, it feels the same. That happens when you have been with the person for a long time, several years, and, you know, love him very much, and we have a family, so it just felt like we were just... Now, I won't say making it official because it was never unofficial, but you know, there's a formality to, you know, joining in a court of law. Myself as a lawyer, I understand the implications of that. So I'm like, well, you know, so.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Well,
We eloped in Colorado,
It
and
was
it
gorgeous.
was quite beautiful. And I wish I could live out there. I wish there were more Black people there.
It's gorgeous.
Specifically in Telluride. But
it looked like a winter wonderland.
it was gorgeous.
Well,
Like, I
now
would
we
legit
can go
live
there to celebrate you all's anniversary.
Yes, I would love to do a Black ski trip.
Please.
there.
I've been waiting.
And Jazz, you got news as well.
Yes. So also, while we were on our bit of a hiatus, I also got married. So I'm also officially married now. And it's been really great. And then I just realized I got engaged a year ago, like this week.
Yes,
So,
that shit popping up on my
Your
Apple
photo?
memories. I was
Yes.
like, wow. Yep, it was June 1st, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It was. I remember because I planned it.
Thank you very much for all of your assistance. It was a wonderful
Oh my
day.
gosh, that was a fun day.
Yes,
He's-
it was
he's
very
the best.
long yet very fun day. I'll never forget.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's kind of been the thing, and then
It's the theme.
just life been lifing, just trying to keep hope alive.
Oh, has
as they
it?
would say. And it's also spent a lot of time with family, which is
Yeah. That's always good.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's important to find in this moment where there is so many WTF moments, you have to find the joy and continue to do those things that are, you know, happy and bring us together and, you know, create connections.
Community,
because
man.
Community.
I feel like that's how we're going to get through this.
That's what we're going to need because, like, what is going on, y'all? Like, the last time we spoke, we had a new president-elect. Not the person I would have chose, but you know, to each their own.
Correct.
Now it seems like maybe things are not turning out the way that
foolishness.
You know, people thought that they were. But yeah,
so loaded.
Before we get into that, because if we really, you know, start to dive in, I'm gonna need a drink.
Yeah,
because we're gonna need a drink for this.
We're gonna need a drink.
Oh yeah. So what are we sipping on?
It's like
We need a drink every day.
we need a strong drink.
Correct.
This is a. Have y'all seen Sinners? Y'all saw Sinners, right?
Sure did.
Oh my god.
I did not see Sinners.
What? Why didn't you tell us that before we started recording?
I'm sorry.
Jen.
Sorry, I just haven't seen it yet.
I should have told you to watch it last night.
I don't
it's
like
on streaming.
It is.
It's not a scary
I don't
movie.
like scary movies, so I
don't
didn't want to
either.
watch it.
Oh my god! But
then I
Michael
heard
B.
how
Jordan
good it was.
twice. Like he plays two people.
He plays two people.
He plays his own. He's like it's like a parent trap.
It's a double
Hey.
He plays.
Maybe me and Ray will watch it. Maybe we'll watch
No,
it this weekend.
there is no maybe. Okay, so you don't even. I'm gonna talk to you, Jen.
Damn.
You're not even gonna get the
Okay, wow.
the cocktail.
It was very good.
I'm glad you like it. I should send you it to go watch it right now.
Yeah, you know what the hell is she?
That should have been your homework.
Now she's sending you home with homework.
Not her sending me away.
I'm sending you into the next room. You gotta watch it and then come back and I want a 1-page report.
Oh gosh, my mother used to try to do that.
Not a report.
No, you gotta see it. You gotta see it. Okay, for the sake of spoiler alert or spoilers for our
Audience.
No, for you. You're the only person. I was at the bar the other day, and this guy was sitting at the bar, and he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "I'm good." You know, he's like, "I'm good too. I just saw Sinners finally." I was like,
Oh, he was
"Oh
waiting to talk
my
about
god!"
it.
He was waiting.
All right, well, can I bring back some questions next week?
Yes, you can.
Some
That
commentary.
will be.
Most certainly.
That will be. You gotta watch it twice.
I will.
So in the spirit of Sinners, I created the Bloodsucker,
Very appropriate.
and it is, as you can see, it's blood red, and it has a little bit of Jameson Irish whiskey. It's actually a very special Irish whiskey, or it's not a regular Jameson. It's triple. It's distilled in bourbon, sherry, and chestnut casks.
It's
So
delicious.
it's got a diverse flavor palette for the fancy folks out there who just don't want a straight old Jameson and ginger, which, by the way, is where I met my husband, at a Jameson and ginger.
Yeah.
Every time I talk about Jameson, I have to bring that up.
Aw.
Perfect cocktail for today.
I know, but also you'll get why Jameson and Irish whiskey specifically is very significant for Sinners when you actually watch the movie.
Okay, we
Yes.
that's
So-
not-
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. So, homework assignment. You have to report back to us why all of the elements of this cocktail, why they are significant. I'm not going
I'll
to tell
take
you.
that on.
All right. And so we have Sorrel. Jasmine, you want to model that for a second there?
Of course.
We have Sorrel here. It is made by a black distiller. He is actually, Jack from Brooklyn is the first licensed black distiller post-prohibition in the United States when he
Wow.
created Sorrel in, I think it was 2010. Oh, no. 2010. What year is it? Oh, my gosh. Yes. So Sorrel is, it is a mixture that became a staple in the Caribbean, and it infuses hibiscus flower, and it has a couple other different spices in there. It's very delicious. It pairs well with cocktails, but also with just like a little ginger ale or like you know,
I love some good sorrel.
on the rocks. So we love our black owned spirits, our black produced spirits. And so the Bloodsucker has the Jameson, the Sorrel, a little bit of lemon juice, and a splash of either simple syrup if you just like to keep it very simple, or I created a hibiscus simple syrup where I brewed a little hibiscus flowers or brewed it a little bit and just added some sugar. So it is quite good.
It's quite
It is.
Serve it over rocks. If you are feeling extra luxurious, you can strain it into a martini glass.
Great job.
But definitely need a drink because what's happening? What's going on in this
Where do you start?
in this
bunch of bullshit.
country that we call home?
Yeah. The great US of A.
We've got a new president, a new administration. So, who wants to kick it off?
Some new shit going on.
What's hip happening?
I guess the real question is, what is it happening, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of unprecedented shit going on.
Correct.
It's like every day it's like, well, this is unprecedented in American history, so...
Or in the history.
But I'm going to try to decipher how we respond to it with all of the precedented shit that's happened. It's like
You can't.
responding with unprecedented shit with precedented precedents.
Right.
Just
I don't see how that works.
That's not going to work.
But
not as effectively as one would think, I'm assuming. So, I mean, it's been a lot of bullshit. Like, literally. I don't think we have all had a time to, like, take a breath of air.
no, not since January 20th.
Since, yeah. Even before then, it was just like,
Yeah.
knew what was looming about. But, you know, as we mentioned before, you know, we logged off.
Yeah.
Our hiatus. What was that? Didn't we actually have an entire show about Project 2025? What was in it?
Yes, I do believe we did.
And had no idea that
Oh, he's not going to do... You all remember, I was having quite a many conversations with Trump supporters about 2025, and I was consistently told he's not really going to do that.
Well, he's already done, like,
He's
over half of it
I
at
was
this
going to
point.
say,
Yeah.
correct. His batting average is 100%.
Yeah.
Much better than any other
Yeah.
sport he's actually ever probably attempted.
And no, and the really damaging part is that I think so. It's part of 2025, the mandate for leadership from the Heritage Foundation. They put out mandate for leadership every presidential election year.
Right.
And so during the 45 administration, he implemented a good amount of the mandate for leadership agenda. What upset him, and I think what he tried to rectify in this iteration of a presidential administration, is the fact that he literally has instituted and implemented a host of didn't earn it
Oh, God.
heads of administration. You could probably name on one hand the amount of people who actually were qualified for the appointment.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't.
I think I can't
Oh,
name
thank
them,
you.
but I feel like they might exist because there were some. I think there was one lady who I don't even know, honestly, at this point.
The person that they thought they had the highest qualified.
It's not a head of an agency. I'll tell you that. It's like you know, lower on the poll,
They
but
just was, you know, Marco Rubio, at least he could be this. You know, like,
yeah,
he
I mean,
can't. No, he
but
fucking can't.
well, the thing is that Marco Rubio actually looked like the most qualified for the position that he was being appointed to,
Marco Rubio's
but
lying.
he is literally one would argue that a lot of politicians are liars, and that's
true.
not necessarily a disqualifier. But
How you lie about your whole family and their history is what I'm saying. We're not talking about like you just lying to constituents or saying you gonna do this and not do that. That's a deep type of disturbing type of.
a lot of members of Congress, like
We made Europeans. That's why we didn't have immigration laws until a certain point. It was like we didn't. I mean, technically we let y'all in, but we didn't really mean.
We weren't really talking about y'all.
we meant the people who can come on the boat,
Correct.
not necessarily via land.
Right.
Because ain't nobody living in Canada trying to come down here for a better
At all.
especially not now. Like,
Right.
It's happening the opposite way, but
Like, you
yes.
think I want to come down there and lose my
The ghetto.
Lose my universal healthcare, lose like my human rights, lose civil rights, my reproductive rights.
Right,
like,
exactly.
just no, y'all got
Y'all
that.
got that.
It's all good.
They said,
Correct.
It's fine. I'll keep my Canadian tuxedo and my denim.
Yeah.
And I'll go to my government.
Right.
And
It'll
now
be fine.
Exactly.
Canada is
Got me wanting
trying to that part, but move to the 51st state, and I do now.
No, they not.
Right.
They are not.
Like not never.
Yeah.
And it's
just
like
it doesn't even make sense.
We've become such a.
It doesn't even make sense.
I believe it's part of the umbrella of the
NATO?
United Kingdom.
Right.
No, they're so. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Canada still has very much so ties to like.
Oh, well,
United
yeah,
Kingdom
yeah.
and their parliament, and is under kind of part of their rule. That's why it's interesting to me. Like, they still have the king that comes over to visit them. About it makes zero sense. I mean, but only an idiot would be trying to do that. I mean, Greenland.
And Greenland, right?
And Greenland.
You know,
Nobody wants to be a part of this.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't.
It begs to like contemplate what is really serious, and that's like what the whole issue is like, why can't we take our president serious about anything that they say? Well, yes, but
he's fucking up a lot of serious things,
right? Like, it's like even with the tariffs, it's like the tariff thing is like every economist that knows how to use a calculator.
But this information was out before the election.
I mean, but yes. I mean, of course it was, but that didn't matter to.
I mean,
it matters now.
That I mean, it will matter if the tariffs actually go into effect.
Correct.
It's like I
Tariff TACO.
It's like okay,
I mean, they've gone in effect, out of effect, in effect, out of effect.
And at this point, I think even China is like,
right.
I can't take this seriously. Like,
right,
this shit is a game. And
they've done since the beginning.
Exactly. And it's like, you're not going to be able to have a conversation about that.
You have fun over there. You see.
We don't get none of our shit that we need in this country from y'all. We'll be
okay. That's why it doesn't make sense.
You get from us. They're not stupid enough to figure. I don't think they're dumb enough to think like we should only rely on one source or that no one else can do.
No, not at all.
Also, you know, there's a certain arrogance you have to have about you to be like, well, I do this and nobody else can do it like me, so then you need me. And then a lot of times they be like, actually, no, the fuck I don't. It's about manufacturing of certain things or certain industries. In certain industries, there's like 2 providers or 3 providers. Even eggs, like there's only a couple. There's really only like a handful of companies that provide everything to everyone, and that's why prices get fixed and stuff like that. Like you do have some independent farmers and stuff like that, but
they can't compete in the market.
They can't compete in the market.
That's monopolized by the big farmers.
But that's how most of the big industries here are. Like there's no.
Well, that's why our free market is in quotations.
It's correct.
But not only are the smaller producers or like the more local growers or farmers, the people who can't compete on that corporate agricultural level, not only are they've always been struggling to make the free market work for them, but now you see what Doge has done with the gutting of a lot of our agencies is really put them at a disadvantage to be able to deliver their product to the people who will consume it. And they
don't be anti-immigrant when that's what you
that was my second point. It's like,
and
now you don't have anybody. You don't have
anyone
to cultivate the land,
to cultivate the crop.
You know,
it's supposed to be a bit because people are like, well, who's going to pick your fruit now, or who's going to pick your vegetables now, and this and this and that. And I get it, but
that's kind of derogatory.
I mean, it's very derogatory. I think people forget that go back a certain amount of years.
Who was doing that?
Doing that didn't look like the people who are now. So maybe let's not.
They were enslaved people, and then they were sharecroppers who were
homes, and who's gonna mow your grass, and who's like that be the shit that get on my nerves.
Yeah.
But I think when we talking about like people who voted for this, and who are like, I didn't vote for this, or I didn't know, and I was like,
yes, you did.
I saw a clip earlier today, and I wish I could have saved it, but sometimes when you're scrolling and then it pops back up.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much like a conversation between some people who did vote for him. Like, I mean, it's not that I didn't know that some of these were his policies, and it's not like I didn't know that he was planning to do this or that. I just didn't think it was going to affect me. Like now,
Right. I didn't think it was going to be
this is really threatening me. Like people are losing their livelihoods.
Right. My friend is an immigrant, but they're very law abiding. I thought
we thought it was just criminal.
Yeah, but that's all.
That now
where the
rural area in your hospital going to close.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or that the farm or the main source of jobs in your area is not going to be able to sustain.
Correct.
That part, because they've got it. Federal contractors, not
you all think it's just the DC, right?
But literally from everybody.
They think it's blue cities, Washington D.C. the swamp. No, actually, let's look at who's really benefited from these services the most.
They also need to stop calling it like the DC swamp, because unfortunately, when we're talking about that, it gives the connotation like, oh, DC is this dirty place or this place with all this.
Yeah.
But all the people that are referred to in that are literally people that are from all over the country that were elected by this questionable.
Now, see, I thought when they say the swamp, they mean like basically federal workers, the bureaucracies, all of those things.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, even when you're talking about,
and a lot of those people don't live in DC,
and that's what I think people were stupid enough.
Northern Virginia, they live in Maryland.
Right.
I don't even think they're thinking about like the agencies or like,
no,
they're
thinking
about like
they think DC is like
for me or Congress isn't doing that, and so that is
they don't even think,
and that's like the swamp, and so all of the government and the bureaucracy, I think to most people are tied to like what they think Congress is doing for them, and I'm like,
yes,
but
right.
most people don't really know how.
A lot of people don't think people actually live in DC. I have had some
really,
yeah.
Yes.
I got an argument with a girl from Suitland.
Okay.
Really?
No, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
That's unacceptable.
No, did not know DC was that DC was not in Maryland.
You're a lie.
I'm not.
This was freshman in college. That was a long time ago. Hopefully she has read a book.
There were several people that were sitting around from different parts of the country, and none of them knew that it was not in a state. Like, it was so hard to get people to understand that DC is not
a state. Yeah.
I get it's the capital city, but what state is it in? Like, is it in Virginia?
Because a lot of people think, like, they hear that the land came from Virginia and from Maryland.
They think it's part of it. Like, most people.
When I was in Colorado, I have a DC license, of course. I was purchasing alcohol, of course. I presented my DC DC license. And they're like, oh, I've never met anybody who lived in DC. I didn't know people lived there.
What?
I was like, oh.
I'm confused.
Somebody look at it and know where it was from.
Yeah, I got that a lot.
Like, where is... So what?
DC? Like District of Columbia? It's a real place.
What?
And this was in February of 2025. So like literally like, and I mean honestly,
you
like,
shouldn't be able.
No, but
I realized that
these people making these decisions.
But the thing is, this is a person working in
This is a person who voted in the election. Most likely.
Maybe. I don't know. But the thing is that it's so far removed from their way of life. Like, literally, until I went to
it's really not. It's called
Colorado.
Schooling, and it's called that they don't teach well.
Okay. Yes. All of that.
About the country.
No, but like, to put a face to something, like, I couldn't, like, envision people who live in another state or what they look like unless I go there myself.
Yeah, I keep trying to. That's my thing.
Yeah.
The problem is
we're aware of other places in other states, and like this is actually your nation's capital, so it's very relevant.
I guess the conversation around the nation's capital.
That part.
How can you learn any part?
Well, who do y'all know that they vote? So like, who votes? People vote. So how do you not know that people live?
Maybe they don't know that they vote. We know that they vote.
Every school board doesn't have the same.
Clearly,
doesn't have the same basis or borderline or baseline about what needs to be taught.
Yeah, civics is taking a back.
Well, I'm not even talking about civics. I'm just talking about like,
or even before
US
there was
history.
no. I mean, yes, but even before there was no
geography.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
What?
No, they know that that it's a place, but they have a hard time visualizing
the concept of what the place is.
They have a hard time understanding that actual real people live there that are not a part of.
See, that's where the disconnect is for me. It's like, well, what would give you the idea that people don't?
Because it's not a state. Because it's not a state,
and everybody thinks it's in a state. So
like kind of like the Vatican, like maybe like the Vatican. Because I think the only people. Yeah, because I don't think any people who are not associated with the Catholic Church actually live there unless they are like required to live there. I don't remember. I'm not a very good Catholic.
No.
I know some good Catholics.
You're Catholic?
I'm half Catholic.
Oh, half Catholic.
Girl, all these black Catholics around us. You know,
Right. My daddy was a Catholic.
No, but I just didn't know she was Catholic.
No, I'm half Catholic. I call it half Catholic.
Half Catholic. Oh, right. Well, no. I know black Catholics.
Baptist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's more what it was giving. I was like, oh.
No, my dad was Catholic.
They do got a couple black Catholics. That's why we need better education.
What did you say?
So everybody can operate.
When they were like, I didn't realize. What did they say when you presented your license?
I was like, yeah, I live there. I grew up right outside of there in Maryland, but I live there now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, so when I lived in South Carolina, people I would get a lot of, I've never met anybody from DC. Which is fair, but nobody ever told me that. I didn't realize people lived in DC.
But I've met people here who are like, "Oh wow, you're from DC."
I can't imagine that. I'm sorry. I wanna sit down and have a heart to heart with them because I'm sorry. Karine Jean-Pierre just came out with a book. Who is Biden's press secretary for all 4 years? The majority. Yeah, okay, I was going to backtrack because the majority of his presidency. But she's coming out with a book. She's now a registered independent. She's coming out with a book, and she is apparently in this book that comes out in October going to be exposing a lot of the dishonesty and the disloyalty
of the Biden administration
of people within the administration. So what she observed as disloyalty, because I mean, basically Biden was ousted by his
correct.
Yes,
and that's why I was angry as hell for weeks.
Right,
it was evident. It was so disgustingly how they did it.
And then you have Jake Tapper and that other guy. I'm sorry.
Tell it, sis.
I'm not sorry. I don't know his name, but the fact that they would come out with such a detrimental publication at a time when fingers are already being pointed, not only from the administration, but within the party. It's it was just in bad taste. It's do y'all really need this type of energy towards y'all in this moment?
It's just more
what the fuck behavior,
and it's just more of a shit show because it's how do you expect people to get behind y'all when it's an entire shit show of disloyalty, which we saw on display when and I don't even want to get into how. I don't even want to get into
I'm just saying,
Sister Kamala, how they set her up. Yeah. But it's also how do you expect people to galvanize behind a party when one thing we can say about the Republicans is they be lock motherfucking step behind each other, even if they don't secretly, they don't agree or they know some shit. And I'm not saying that that's the party I want, but I certainly don't want when we have
I don't want a blind loyal party.
I don't want a blind loyal party, correct. But I also don't want a party that will stab the sitting president in the back, throw him under the bus, and run him over with it, and reverse over him with it, too.
I just want to know who paid for it, because what it doesn't seem right now is that all of these things are lining up all of a sudden. Now it's just for him. And I mean, we're letting somebody who called Joe Biden sleepy go to sleep on the world stage.
That part.
All across the board.
That part.
Who we know can't finish a cognitive sentence. I just think.
Thank you. He has shown cognitive decline since he was 45. But nobody talks about that. But then you have your own party.
I just didn't understand that part. Just even with it, if you didn't want him to run again, that's fine. Handle that before.
Yeah, but handle that before. Handle that well before.
And if it got to the point I just don't even think we need everybody to come out the woodwork. And I really don't like for the fact that people who come out with all these like, well, let me expose you this and let me expose you that. Because what I can't understand for the life of me is why Jake Tapper's writing a book about some shit. If he knew it at the time, he's on the goddamn air.
That part.
So
He's been paid.
Either you are hindsighting it or trying to make it look like you knew some shit or got some insiders. But I'm just trying to figure if you knew it then, that seems like that would be
The time to...
Seems like that's your fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't do your actual job, and if you're not going to do it, then that's problematic.
Correct.
Your journalism can't be trusted in the way of sources. You're telling us that you knew about this all the time, but you wanted to hold on to the sources.
And now so you can make money?
But I don't believe it. I really don't. I don't get into it. I don't subscribe to a lot.
Me either.
I think it's full of BS. I just do.
Mm-hmm. Well, so did you guys hear that
Just
there was some in Washington,
doing too much.
he and Obama kind of had a riff,
Who?
Biden,
Oh,
during the election.
sorry.
Because obviously, remember, he wouldn't, and remember, we were texting about this, like, why won't they come out and, back Kamala?
Yeah.
Why won't they, whatever? Apparently, Obama did not want Kamala.
Oh, I knew. Yeah,
And
we
says,
were
da
gonna
da da da, and Biden's like, you all turned on me. F you. This is who I'm throwing my support behind.
Yeah.
It's Kamala.
Yeah. Because
But it was so evident at the time, like in real time, it was evident because I remember being like pissed off.
yeah.
I mean, when people were talking about having alternatives.
Hakeem Jeffries, none of them backed her immediately. It took weeks.
And look at her, living her best life. She's
And,
like,
as she should.
I was thinking about this earlier. I'm like, you know what? Not only tired, like America does not deserve
America
her.
doesn't deserve her. So, which brings me to my good governor. America doesn't deserve him either.
Right, I'm like,
Don't do this.
you better stay your ass.
Stay
in
your
Maryland.
ass in Maryland.
Governor Moore.
Yeah, because he got asked like a week or so ago if he was going to run, and he was like, "No, I'm really excited about what's going on in Maryland." Correct.
Yes.
And then next
Don't
thing I
lose your
know,
whipple.
there's a
Whipple.
report that he met with. Who did he meet with in Democratic leadership in the previous within this last week? And they're like, "Oh, this signals that he's thinking of a 2028 run." Blah 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 blah. Man, please, like, first of all, y'all not ready for it. I'm not going on this roller coaster with y'all again. And y'all give America. America has the president it deserves.
It really does.
Like, honestly.
A toxic relationship where your best friend gets back with her ex,
Right
one
back when
that
I-
got away, and you're getting everything that you deserve.
The crazy thing is, what it really makes me think about is like, do you ever? I know this is gonna be real random, but I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was like years ago, maybe like a 60 Minutes type deal or something like that, when Malcolm X was alive, and it was right after. I don't know if you've ever seen a clip of it, but it was a clip, and he was on like I can't think of the name of the show, very popular nightly show. I asked him what he thought about the killing of JFK. And I think Elijah Muhammad at the time had been like, we don't really want to get involved in that, don't say nothing. But he was on the show, and they asked him, and I think he was sent in as a representative for the Nation of Islam. And he was like, I just think this is America's chickens coming home to roost. And honestly, when I think about that phrase and what he meant by it, I'm like, this time now is pretty much America's chickens coming home to roost under the umbrella of white supremacy.
Oh, absolutely.
And
And until you fully reckon with that,
torture,
like
That
we
part.
have.
murder.
Just accept it.
So we're in June 2025. Usually the first 100 days of a president's tenure is scrutinized as kind of a trajectory of how the rest of the years will go. And if that is any indication of what we are in for, I think we're going to need a lot of drinks. Because the first 100 days of the 47 administration has been literally like chaos, and
Ridiculousness.
Yeah, I don't even think those are strong enough of a words. But
I don't think there is a word.
I can't even think. Yeah, there are no words.
Well, he's doing
Has
everything
a
he
lot
can to
of-
break down every check and balance
Exactly.
that
And
was ever put in place.
it just appears to be a whole lot of like, can he do that? Is that okay? No.
And who's really
It's
going to
not
stop
okay.
you?
They're running this goddamn on administration like charade. Who gonna check me, boo?
No, literally.
Correct.
And that
You got courts?
they literally have said that
That's
to the courts.
exactly it. They're literally like, what you going
They
to
have
do?
said that to the courts.
And who going to stop me?
So we
Who gonna
have
check me, boo?
executive order after executive order that says literally every ridiculous thing that you can think of.
There've been so many there.
Anti DEI, which is
Code word?
pretty much it's code
That's
word
what
for pro.
It's like,
If you are a rich white man.
White man.
DEI is the new woke, which is like the new welfare queen.
It's more than woke.
I mean, woke was just another work term. I think, especially because black.
I feel like woke was a little more specific to our community. A little bit.
Yeah.
DEI
Well,
is extra. Specific.
well, it's
I don't necessarily think so,
people
because
associate it as being specific
just,
to our
but it's
community,
actually not.
The
Literally,
the
if
highest
you're
beneficiaries of DEI initiatives are white women.
Correct.
We know that, and so do the
Yeah.
data.
Well, guess what? You're gonna learn today, or tomorrow, or next week when you lose your job.
Disability, like,
and the way in which they were weaponizing it,
Yes.
and the way in which they went in into specific.
right. Could because when the people who also don't know that people live in DC hear DEI, they think, oh, the black and browns.
Right.
That's literally all they think.
And the Asians,
And the
students that went to the Supreme Court and argued that Harvard's admissions policies were discriminatory against them. Guess
You're also
Guess who's on the first list to not gain access to a Harvard education now? Chinese students. Who did Marco
that's that thing
Rubio,
that delusional proximity to whiteness
It's not
that
a
you
Yeah.
talked
delusional
about.
proximity to whiteness.
it's a very cognizant and
No, I don't think
deliberate
I don't think that certain
proximity.
groups are necessarily cognizant that what they're saying, like certain things that they're saying, and its proximity to white supremacy, because it's this.
You don't think it's a little delulu for them to not?
I don't think it's no more delulu than black people telling you that they vote don't matter. I don't think it's any more delulu. You know what I mean? Like, if we're gonna be honest about it, I think that there's a lot of people in certain realms that either think that like they repeat shit that because they don't know where it originally comes from. There are a lot of white supremacist talking points because they heard it and somebody told them that like and convinced them or talked about it, you know, or just convinced them that seemed to be right, but they don't even understand really where that comes from. Like, even all the anti-immigrant shit ain't nothing but the same way they had anti-black shit, but it's a little less appropriate to say anti-black shit.
And that's why I just be like, y'all need to pipe down before.
I mean, but this is what I'm saying.
Next thing you know,
Like, I think it's always easy to make yourself the exception and to start group thinking with the oppressor when you feel like you are the exception. When you think
that's proximity though.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So
And
when
all
we're
it
talking
takes
about
is a little bit
although
more-
we know who the biggest recipient is, to them, to most of them, their
But you gotta be
proximity-
delulu to be a whole minority in this country and not think
You
that you
just have to
benefit
be-
from
you
DEI.
have- Oh, I guess yes.
White women are
Delulu
probably
and
one of the largest minority groups in this country, and they voted against their own interests because their
time and time
belief
again.
of
Yes.
proximity to whiteness has more benefits than trying to fight
Then their
for
own
something
rights.
that is seen or is being painted as more divisive or less important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's true. But you, I
also
think
the gender complexion.
Delulu
So where
or
you go, like, what language you speak. If somebody saw a person that's kind of racially ambiguous and you were speaking Spanish or speaking Japanese or speaking in what sounds to be like a indigenous, you know what I mean, dialect, or if you were speaking in patois, no matter what you're speaking, people assume that your English that you speak somehow dictates like the race or the class in which you are. You literally have people that are all of the same diaspora, all of the same making, and depending on what you speak, people will say that you're like less black or more black or closer.
But
to
it will
white or less
behoove them
white.
to know that.
That's why
And
education comes in.
and that's where education comes in. But it
You don't
also,
even know that DC's not in the state, and we got a long place to go.
and we do. And I
No, I'm
mean,
not saying
it
But
obviously not me. But no, I'm just saying that like there is a level of delusion, but it also, I get what you're saying. It's like there is a
delusion. I think it's ignorance.
It's not only ignorance, but it's also a susceptibility to propaganda, quite frankly, and like what is being told to you. Like, you obviously, like the guy who, I can't remember his name, but the guy who put all of these affirmative action cases in motion,
It's
from
like
the Texas
12
case
people.
to the no, it's like there's one white guy that mobilized all of those Asian students against this one white guy who, the first case was in Texas at UT Austin, I believe it was, and then he got a whole bunch of Asian students to feel the same way about Harvard admissions, because if you could get a minority group to turn on the other minorities, then, how can you make the case that it is not discriminatorily in favor of one group of people when you have a minority group over here saying that they are also being discriminated against? What they don't realize, which I hope that sometime, like within their lifetime, it's able to come to fruition, and in the same boat as evangelical Christians, y'all are being used. You have been
We're all pawns.
no, not all of us are pawns.
A lot of us have been, though.
We have been, but there has been a very strategic utilization of a certain group of minority that might not be getting what they think that they deserve, and turning their grievance against not the people who are denying them that access, but to make them feel like they are a part of the people who are trying to take over.
Actually, because we are having our Bloodsucker based on the movie Sinners.
No, we can't talk about Sinners because Jennifer hasn't seen it.
Okay.
Next, we're gonna do a special Sinner. After you see it, you're gonna want to do a whole, because I know you. You're gonna, as soon as you see it, you're gonna want to do a whole bonus episode. We're gonna do a bonus Sinners debrief. Now everybody can access it. You don't even have to leave and go to the movies and see it in 70 like I did at whatever that means, at Quentin Tarantino's theater in LA. Shout out to my girl Alicia, because yes, and it was amazing. But
back to so what I'm saying is that I think the same thing that you said can literally be said for every minority group that has ever lived in this country, Black people included, and about how white supremacy and the overall ideal of it, implementation of it, the structure of it, literally has caused the same rift. Because if we look at, let's say, Black people and Asian people, right? Most Asian people that came here well, not all of them, but there's a large group that have been here for a long ass time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus upwards of 100
Sinners.
But that's what I'm saying. They've been here for 100 years. The irony is that when the people came here, they wouldn't really, you couldn't really live in the white neighborhood. They might let you maybe have a little store, but for the most part, no Black people could.
Yeah.
And no Black people could really come over there unless it was to work for them, to get something, and to get the hell on. And they wouldn't even allow Black people, for the most part, unless they were able to get some land and kind of start something together, which then got burned down, which we see in a lot of the different race massacres. But they actually allow Asian people to get loans and properties. So they actually were able to get them in these Black areas and could provide services that white people refused to provide. So, and they kind of put a little nod to that in Sinners, which is kind of, I was like, oh, it's interesting we're talking about that because it all ties together.
Okay.
But I do think it's interesting, like, when we look even at different groups where you have, like, people being mad, like, all the Asian people, all the stores in our neighborhood. I'm like, it's not because the Asian people somehow got a memo where they was from. It was like, come out all the black properties. But they weren't giving black people any loans to do anything. So it's really hard to be able to start businesses in places, even if it was a black neighborhood. Outside, you were redlined into it, and they still didn't want to give you any stuff. And then
Correct.
black banks that had black wealth in them were robbed and mismanaged. So, you know, all of those things are things, which is why I think that
is true.
Really thinking about
It's
the
all
overall umbrella. It's the same way as, like, before there was a differentiation, or I guess before there was a creation of race in the 1700s, there was slavery before it, but there were
That's
poor
slavery.
white slaves and poor black slaves.
And a lot
when
of
they
the
got
slavery
together
before was
and
based
had
on
revolts,
religious
it was based on
ideology.
revolt. I mean, it was based on religion.
Religion
White.
and
Everything
kind
said
of
Christian.
just like a nationality.
Yeah, no.
for the
When
most
they
part.
started bringing people for here for enslavement,
Yes.
it was based on Christianity, but white Europeans, not having full knowledge and concept of where things that they practiced came from, didn't realize that Christianity came with the oldest places that practice it. I think of like Ethiopia and another village also located in Africa.
In Africa,
that's not
yes.
in Ethiopia.
The center of the.
But it's not in Ethiopia. Specifically, it's not in Ethiopia. I want to say maybe like Mali or something like that. When they were bringing people over here and enslaving them, and once people got the concept of the language and understand, they were like, oh, you're a slave because you're not Christian. I was like, no, we've been Christian. Like, we are Christian. We were Christian before we came here. So people sued and got their sued and got their freedom based on the fact that they were Christians, and Christians couldn't enslave other Christians, which was the issue. So they were like, all right, well, we can fix this real easy. We gonna create white, because before then there was no white.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
And I honestly don't believe that. If you look,
That's
at
why race is a social construct.
and if you look at a lot of the historical documents, a lot of people that you think were white were not white based on even the descriptions of them. If somebody described as murky,
Like Jesus.
I wouldn't even be murky based on the description. You know what I mean? So a lot of that stuff. But then, we've had like whole administrations like Woodrow Wilson and others that's like, if we're going to take these items, we're going to take these documents, and we're going to whitewash the hell out of them. Anything of any mention at all, we're not going to mention it. And I think that America actually can do much better off if we, instead of trying to like colorblind history and move past it, if we actually dealt with it, and then maybe we wouldn't be at the place that we're at, where you had people that were so apathetic because of just stupid tropes that are being passed around, and then other people who just are like,
well, that's what happens.
Not me, girl. That's not gonna get me, girl.
That's what happens when, you're in a toxic relationship. Sometimes you just need to take time to work on yourself. You don't need to get into another relationship with anyone. America needs to work on itself before it could commit to a Kamala. Sorry.
Agree.
It is literally going to be a situation where we are no longer a democracy, or the people take their power back. The decision is up to us. They have no power to determine that for us.
And there also is no savior, so it's just us.
There is no savior.
Come and save us is us.
Yeah. And that is always how it has been for any type of a revolutionary situation. But you
gotta have a common enemy and a common goal, I think. And I think
it
what
might be
Republicans have become really good at. I think we're not there yet.
Oh, we're not. I don't think we're there yet. I think it has to get a lot worse.
And maybe it's not just Republicans.
I think it has to get worse.
For sure.
It's not affecting.
It's not. It's got to get a lot worse. Yeah, I think. Unfortunately,
it's gotten to a point where most people are like behind the keyboard and they're like, like internet typing against people that they have no clue about, and they say more vile stuff because they're not right there. And then people just
Right.
go out in the street and they feel so entitled to like, you know, like I should be able to do whatever I want to whoever I want. And I have free speech, but no, you can't say anything you want to me, but I should be able to say and do whatever I want. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
at some point there has to be a sense of a social contract that's re-entered back in, and a sense of actual community, like how we started talking about like how community is going to be.
Community is
Yeah,
essential.
absolutely.
It is the only option.
I mean, and it can't be a thing where everybody's just out for self, because
Exactly.
like, everybody's just like, I'm trying to make my money, I'm trying to do this for me, I ain't really got time.
And they know
for
that. They know that because that is why on the far right, and you hear this a lot with, you know, other like even with just like common influencers. Elon says this a lot. Like there is an actual war on empathy, like caring for your
Yes.
fellow person, your fellow man.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Something that is supposed to be very core to a religious ideology. It don't matter what religious ideology you pick. Empathy is somewhere in the tenets of that, whether it's compassion, whether it's love, whether it's caring, whether it's like just looking out for your neighbor. Like, and they are weaponizing the fact that people are just like, even if you don't identify with a certain lifestyle or a certain identity or a certain like way of thinking, I still believe that you, at the end of the day, should be able to live as your full and true self, have the same rights that I do to like exist out in the world,
Right.
and do, for the most part, whatever it is that you want to do, as long as it's not harming or causing detriment to another person. Like that is empathy, and that is literally the thing that has to be desecrated in order for them to advance on their goal. It's not about religion. It's not about even like caring for the little guy or the blue collar worker or the non-college educated but pull myself up from my bootstraps, and now I have a business, but now I can't buy shit from China because of the tariff. Like, boo fucking who? It's about caring about someone else. All right. So, does anyone in here have any hope?
Not at the moment.
I'm not in total despair, but I do have my passport and stuff ready. And,
Get your passport. Renew your passport. Get your passport.
Yep.
I keep one on ready
Yeah.
to go.
My kids got them.
We just got ours. But yeah. So, hopefully it won't come to that, because this is our home too. It's like, that's a thing. It's like, I don't want to go nowhere else. It's like, it seems nice, like, to go on vacation other places, but
This is home.
no, this is my fucking home.
That part.
This is where my family
And
is.
you're not about to just fuck it up.
No, if anybody belongs here, it's us.
Correct.
It's like, y'all can go.
Right.
I don't know how it's going to come down to it, but I certainly hope it doesn't come down to anything where they're like trying to question people. I'm like, listen here, people, I don't know who y'all work for and whatever.
Oh yeah, you better keep your passport.
That's fine. But
I'm kidding. That is so. No.
I tracked my baby back to the 1700s.
Absolutely. Everything is a scare tactic. Every executive order is a scare tactic.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't organize, you can't plan, you can't really do what you need to do if what has happened is that shit is just coming at you
from every direction.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all a scare tactic, and it's for those who are American citizens, or those who kind of have the safety of it. I don't even think it's safety at this point, but what the credentials where they can prove on paper.
Americans with no accent. The only people that's safe
for now.
I mean, literally, if you're a white American who does not have an accent, you might be the safest group that there are, because they have picked up people just.
That is until you try to defend or stop someone from maybe deporting or taking away a friend of yours.
Yeah,
because you've become the enemy real quick. They don't care. They don't care.
You got a little more leeway up front. At least they won't arrest you for talking to your neighbor.
Heaven forbid you. Heaven forbid you have a right.
Exactly.
Heaven forbid you have a Spanish speaking best friend.
They did that to some people.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they were whole citizens.
Right.
And guess who they voted for?
Those specific people that I'm talking about?
I don't know, but I saw it was a story that the New York Times did. It was either
A lot of these-
Nebraska or Oklahoma. A lot of white people were like, so and so, and it wasn't. I think the person that got deported, she was Asian.
Oh yeah, these people I'm talking about, I don't think they got deported.
No, but I'm just saying, like,
there's been a lot of stories like
there
that.
are a lot of stories where
there are way too many.
You are, you're safe until the one person who
you're not.
you thought was, that's the homie. What you doing? That's like what? That's my employee. That's my neighbor.
That's my neighbor.
That's my best friend.
My pastor.
That's my best friend's mom. That's my pastor. And then all of a sudden it becomes real to you,
right?
Where and
but that's where the empathy was lacking.
Exactly. But that is why they have been trying to chip away at the empathy factor, because if you were more empathetic and you did, lean into your morals, whether they be Christian or religious or not, just basic human decency.
Raised with any decency.
No, but I mean, yes, and then they have issues, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people have leaned into this whole empathy is a weakness, which is a lot of something that Elon says a lot. Is empathy is a weakness. It is America's greatest weakness. He's not sober. So that should tell you a lot about why we, how much we should really listen to what he has to say. So, yeah, we'll be all right because we have elections in 2025.
Lord willing.
And some of them have already happened. We have had, the Democrats have grasped on some of those wins.
Thank the Lord.
And yes, there's been some wins.
Thank the Lord.
In Wisconsin.
Yes.
Elon,
That was a highlight in the dark cloud. Shout out to Wisconsin.
In April.
It was just so fun.
I remember. I have a coworker.
He was literally writing $1 million checks.
He was.
Bounce.
He was.
How do you want to bounce a check from the world's richest man? Or what, like...
His stock was down. So he was like, look, I'm just trying to give you all these...
So, yeah, he realized he couldn't buy that election. Mm-hmm. So, Wisconsin...
Shout out to
was
Wisconsin.
able to elect a Supreme Court justice that was not... Like, yes, exactly. Because, most state Supreme Court elections are nonpartisan. Like, you're not able to identify with a certain party or ideology. You just judge the law as it is on its face. So, Ben Crawford is now a Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin.
Well, thank the Lord.
Thanks to Elon, because I feel like especially with the off-year election, right after a very dismal presidential election, I feel like the turnout might not have been as great if Elon had not become involved.
I think you're right.
And there's some very right, exactly. Because that did happen the election happened right after he got up on the stage. Well, he had to be high. Come on now. Like,
look at his behavior.
Who looks at that and sees a sensible person.
I knew that he wasn't on the up and up when I seen it the first time.
On the up and up.
Now, after hearing this Wall Street Journal report, or was it New York Times?
It was New York Times.
Yes.
With the whole report of what's been going on, assuming that maybe because they had made the plan to have it as his little last send-off on the last day.
I know.
Because I was like,
did y'all see how he dismissed them during the press conference? That's what I was trying to tell you guys about.
But the part that concerned me the most wasn't really the bickering or the antagonizing or what to talk shit to the press. It's the fact that this motherfucker was sitting back there. He was standing behind Orange One, Tangerine Force One. He was standing behind him. And while he was talking, this motherfucker was looking like Smokey riding in the car. And Friday, he was like, here with it. He was just looking up.
Oh, yes, he was. He was like,
He
there were so
was.
many memes like
He
when
was.
the cinnamon hits in.
Yeah.
He was.
Oh, it hit.
Ow.
Oh, it hit like that. Oh, it hit. You ain't on what he on. It's gonna hurt you. You try to roll your head around like that, making fun of it. But
Yeah.
I just was like,
It's like you have to be a really evil person to have that much money and still want to fuck shit up beyond the ability for you to even be affected by it.
I'm like, here, take a few minutes.
None of this shit affects you
Right,
beyond your.
What y'all need? Some lunch? Here you go. I
Right.
write this off my taxes. Go ahead.
Look
Yeah.
good.
So we have
What
elections
do we
in
do?
2025.
What
So
do we
there are a
do?
lot of elections going on in 2025 that are like super local. There are mayoral races. There are city council races. There are school board races. And those are really, if you want to keep it up, those positions are some of the grievances and the things that you really want to see change in your everyday lives. That's where those decisions are made. There are so many local elections in 2025. We can't even name them all. Just there are definitely
Let's
some
start with
happening
yeah.
in wherever you live.
And your
Like in very specific, like in June is a big primary month for those statewide elections for the states that have off-year elections, New Jersey and very close to us, Virginia. So there are primaries going on. The New Jersey primaries for governor and the state legislature are on June 10th.
Yeah, I mean, look.
The Virginia primaries are on June 17th. And New York has a lot of local elections, including a very significant New York City mayoral election, which we have some
June 24th.
June 24th. The debates are going on now. There's like 1 million people running,
Jeez.
including former governor Andrew Cuomo. And also, so our boy Eric Adams is running as independent now since his charges have been dropped at the behest of the.
You mean temporarily?
No, with prejudice means that they can't bring those charges back. Those charges are gone. Now they can find some other things to hold him to account, especially if he doesn't win this election. So New York has a lot of very important elections. New York City is the biggest city in the country. Lots of people live there. So it's a big deal. And in July, DC, Ward 8 has a special city council election.
All right.
As the former Ward 8 councilman was ejected by the city council after he was found or charged with bribery and fraud and a whole bunch of other shit.
Yep.
So that's in July. We'll talk about that later. I have thoughts. I used to live in Ward 8. I now live in Ward 7. It's very close to Ward 8. So there's a lot of things to do. Voting is not a nice to have. It is a
must
need to have. Like you, just because things don't work out your way, which is often the case. It's still a civic duty of everyone who is a member of this society.
Because it affects you, no matter if you.
It does.
And it's not about a choice of like, well, this isn't the perfect person that I would pick.
Thank you.
You still have a civic obligation.
I'm not going to choose either because I think a lot of times people forget that it's more like if you're on a bus with 6 people and the option is we can go get ice cream or we can drive off the cliff.
I like ice cream.
I'm going to go get ice cream.
2 people are going, ice cream. And then, like, one person or 2 people are like, I don't really care. And then the other 2 are like, all right, cliff. It just happens to be more people that say cliff than people that don't speak up.
Can I just get off of this?
You're going over
this
the
suicidal
cliff.
bus.
You're going over the cliff.
Right, and we all on that. We're all on that damn bus. Unfortunately,
So, 2 want to go get ice cream. 5 want to drive off the cliff, or 4 want to drive off the cliff, and the other ones don't. It was like, damn, I would have much rather got ice cream. Well,
I like that analogy because I voted for ice cream,
And I don't even like
these
ice
hoes
cream.
voted to drive us off a cliff.
And that's the thing. I don't even like ice cream.
Me either, but I'll
wanna
take ice
die.
cream. Correct.
Lactose intolerant, but
I'll take ice cream. Okay.
I'd have it.
The choices were real clear.
It's either or, not. It's not like somebody.
Not like, oh, I don't like my choices,
It's
so.
like, would you like an apple or an orange? And you go, actually, I prefer papaya or passion fruit or.
I go through this with my children all the time. You know how you'll be like, do you want this or this? Well, actually, I want. That's not a choice. These are the choices.
If you wanted more choices, you should have got to this party earlier. We was in primary stage.
Mhm.
But you showed up when this is the last. This is this one and that one.
Hello.
So now you have a choice.
That's the problem.
'Cause you're going to
You're
get
right
one
about
or
these
the other.
kids. They just want. They have so many. Every time
Sure.
it's dinner time, Justice like, you picking? Yes, I'm picking dinner. I cook dinner. I never get to pick. No shit, you don't cook.
I never picked. Like, I never picked
Never pick. When did I ever pick?
a dinner.
Every now and
Please.
then I'm like, hey,
Not ever.
you know what, blah, blah, blah,
Not
for dinner?
never.
And we'd be like, yeah. Like, oh, cool. Or she'd be like, all right.
It wasn't really a choice, though. She was telling you, this is what we're having for dinner.
And I stay with McDonald's money because most likely I also want McDonald's, but that's not a luxury that I had. My mother never wanted McDonald's.
Right.
Or
Mine
Wendy's.
either. Mine
Mommy,
either.
Can I have Wendy's? I would love some Wendy's,
All the time.
actually.
Can we order some pizza?
But no. But yes, there are things that we can still do to inspire joy and civic engagement in times where things just aren't going our way. Because you know what, that's okay. Coming up, there are some awesome. Okay, I won't say awesome because so on June 14th is the scheduled parade that is gonna F up all DC roads.
I'm sorry.
With the multiple military
The roads that are
equipment.
built to have these.
Yes.
equipment on it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The military equipment is already here in DC.
Who's gonna pay for this?
I mean, we are essentially.
No. Because let's not forget, DC is still waiting on money from this person's last time in office.
Yes.
DC ended up having to provide either like police or something else for whatever he was doing.
2020.
Right.
Yes.
He never paid the city back.
I'm not surprised. What
I'm
I'm
just
saying,
saying,
so
people pay
the
for
military, so all of the military equipment and personnel is being funded by the federal government.
Yeah.
They have told our mayor in DC that they will repair any damage caused to our roads or infrastructure by these thousands of tons of tanks that aren't even equipped to be on like
Asphalt.
Civilian roads.
yes, essentially
On
yes.
a favorite car.
I won't be here on June 14th. It also happens to be the 47th president's birthday. There's a big parade in DC. There are also counter activations and demonstrations led by a movement called No Kings. The biggest demonstration is happening in Philadelphia, but there are activations and movements going on in every city across the country. I'm sure there is one very close to wherever everyone lives. So you just Google No Kings or go to the No Kings website. I'm not sure if it's .org.com, but you can find it.
Google
so-
King's protest.
And that is something that you're interested in doing on June 14th, or just stay home. Turn off the TV. Don't watch it in real time, because that's also something that they will look at to see if people are engaging with. I will be disengaged completely. Not in this city. But yes, also, the State of the People tour has been going on for, I think, the past month now, led by a large group of really influential activists and leaders within the Black movement. And I think that is something that could be very great to engage with. State of the People tour is going on now. There is a stop in Baltimore, June 19th through the 21st. Lots of opportunities to be engaged and hear from really great leaders and just kind of build community in a time where we need to stick together and just not turn our back on each other because we're not them and they're not like us. So next week, we're going to talk about this big, beautiful POS of a reconciliation bill.
The big bunch of bullshit.
Okay, I like that. Oh, but yeah.
The big, beautiful bullshit.
But, next week we'll talk about the reconciliation bill and all of that drama because now all of a sudden people are bringing to the attention of some of the most ardent supporters of said bill about some of the shit that's in it, and they're like, "Whoa, no, I didn't vote for that. I didn't read that part. I would come on."
I think you need to read it.
Items, the least you could do is read it.
And it's bullshit because
now you can't read it. You have staffers.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That is job of your staff. That is one. And maybe if you didn't get the bill and had so much dialogue about it in literally marathon hearings they were in, but you voted for it.
Well, when you didn't have any kind of opinion of your own and you were just going to do it because it's closer to the proximity of the power that you'd like to have.
No, what happened was hopefully you thought that people weren't going to realize what was actually in that bill because there's a lot of shit. So a reconciliation bill is essentially the government's budget. It's a lot of shit in there, which happens all the time.
A lot of things in there
a lot of stuff
that get rolled in. Yes,
do not have to do with the budget. With a budget, which yes happens all the time. So next week we'll talk about that some more.
Yeah.
Tune in.
We will be discussing it.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
We out.
We're out.
Drink, pull up a chair. Since the political board up. Cause we gonna need a drink for this.